So, here we are today. We're going to play a game of Arkham Horror, the card game. We just got this week, and we've played a game of it already, and we really like it. Now, this isn't going to be a review. We like the game, obviously, or we wouldn't be playing it again. And it's not going to be a full-on tutorial, because there's about 100 of those on the internet already. But we'll touch on things briefly. We're playing in our living room with all of our dogs, so you might hear some clickety-clicks as they walk on the floor, or maybe a bark here or there, but we'll try to keep them fairly quiet. So what we're going to go through first here is a setup. We're going to play the setup game that they put in the Learn to Play rules, which is also the first game in their campaign, Night of the Zealot, which is one of the cool things about this game. One of the things that I liked when they were getting this game ready to sell was they said it blurred the lines between a traditional card game and a role-playing game, which is something that I was hoping the Pathfinder adventure card game was going to do, but it wasn't a bad card game. I actually played a lot on my cell phone, but it didn't do what I hoped it would do. This actually comes a lot closer to what I was hoping the Pathfinder card game would be. So, to set up your first game, they give you two investigators that they say you should be. Roland and Wendy. Roland is an FBI agent, and Wendy is the urchin. I don't know. I think she's supposed to be young, but if you look at her picture, she looks about 38 years old. We're running with economy of space here, so some of my stuff's not going to be on the table, and we're going to keep some tokens off the table. There's health, sanity, and clue tokens, and those are going to be kept off the table. Just for... Oh, actually, you can kind of see them in the corner there. So we have the investigators. We've already done those, and they give you some starter decks to build. We've already built those. So I have my starter deck. I'm playing Roland, and my wife is playing Wendy. We've already built and shuffled those starter decks. We've assembled the token pools and put them into their little boxes. Now, the big difference between this and other games is this right here. It's the Chaos Bag. Inside, you have a number of tokens that range from various numbers to symbols that all mean different things, and what they mean could change on the scenario. Not necessarily the numbers. The numbers are always going to be plus something to negative something, and are going to modify skill checks. But they have, like, the elder sign symbol. My wife's letting the dog out because they were fine for hours, and then the second we start filming, of course. Except for one. Except for this guy. This guy right here does his own thing. He's not beholden to the rules of the other doggies, because he thinks he's special. And now he's going to be on the internets. So the Chaos Bag was the one thing that I was afraid I wasn't going to like, but I actually do like it. I think it's very cool, and I think it gives them a lot of options to customize the difficulty of the game and to customize various things that can happen in the game. And the Elder Sign symbol is neat because it actually triggers a special effect on a character card. So you can see here on Roland's card, his Elder Sign effect is +1 for each clue on your location. So if you're on a location that has a lot of clues, he can really rack up the bonuses if you happen to draw the Elder Sign symbol, which is not likely. I think when we played last, we drew it 2 or 3 times at most. So you assemble that based on the difficulty level of the scenario. There's easy, standard, hard, and expert. The easier, the more beneficial tokens go in the bag. The harder, obviously, the less beneficial and more damning tokens go in the bag. Like on expert, you get no bonus tokens, and you can go all the way up to -8 for a penalty. For the standard game, which is what we're playing, there's 1 +1 token, 2 0 tokens, 3 -1 tokens, 2 -2 tokens, a -3 token, a -4 token, and then a handful of special icons that have various effects based on the scenario. And that is described on the scenario card, what those special symbols do. Alright, so we've assembled a standard difficulty Chaos Bag for this adventure. Take starting resources, Each player starts with 5 resources, and I took 6, so I'm going to put 1 back. And the dogs are outside barking at something. We don't generally know what. And then each player draws an opening hand of 5 cards, which are these here. Now, once you have your 5 cards, you can mulligan. And this isn't like a mulligan in other games where you discard your entire hand. Say you only have 2 cards you don't like. You can set aside those 2 cards, draw 2 new cards, then shuffle the cards you set aside back into your deck. So you can really try to optimize your hand with a mulligan in this game, which is cool. And then that's the basic setup. Now you have to set up for the scenario. Now we are doing the scenario, The Gathering. And it tells you to read the campaign setup. The total campaign setup for Night of the Zealot has a basic thing that reads, Friday, September 18th, 1925, Arkham, Massachusetts. It is the end of a long and abnormally hot summer. The first hints of autumn beckon, but a heavy heat persists, relentless. A silent, unspoken anger grips the town. Tempers are short, and in the last week alone there have been numerous reports of townspeople coming to heated, violent blows with one another over simple misunderstandings. And now, a call from James Hankerson. He claims to have found a dismembered body in his barn. Blaming the weather would be too easy. There is something wrong with this town, and not a whole lot this old soothsayer can do to stop the slide. My auguries indicate a small group of investigators will soon take note of these strange happenings and set forth to make things right. I'll be watching their progress, but I won't hold my breath. And then the first adventure in the campaign is The Gathering. It reads, you and your partners have been investigating strange events taking place in your home city of Arkham, Massachusetts. Over the past few weeks, several townspeople have mysteriously gone missing. Recently, their corpses turned up in the woods, savage and half-eaten. The police and newspapers have stated that wild animals are responsible, but you believe there is something else going on. You are gathered together at the lead investigator's home to discuss these bizarre events. And the lead investigator is going to be me. So we're at Roland's house for this first adventure. So we've read the scenario introduction. Now you need to find the scenario cards. Now, this actually tells you, in the introduction, they actually give you card numbers to go looking at. In the campaign guide, they're going to give you symbols. So it's going to tell you to gather all the cards with those symbols. And you're going to put together an encounter deck, which is this deck here. So you can see the symbols are located roughly in the center of the deck. So you've got those various symbols, and you'll assemble that deck and you'll shuffle it all up. And these are the encounters you're going to go through on this first adventure. So find the scenario cards, set the agenda deck. The agenda deck is made up of, that's the act deck. The agenda deck is made up of 3 cards, 1A, 2A, and 1A, 2A, and 3A. And there could be more. I don't think there's anything that specifically says it has to be 3, but in this adventure, there are 3. And this is the adventure. The further this goes along, the worse things get for the investigators, because this represents bad things going on. And what it will have is, in the center here, you'll see a number, like this says 3. At the beginning of every round, you're going to put a doom token on these agenda cards. And once you meet that number, you're going to flip it over, do what it says on the back, and move over to the next agenda card. The flip side to that is the act deck. This is what the players are trying to get through. This represents whatever you're trying to do at the moment. So, like, right now, our character, well, let's see, it's a set agenda deck, assemble the agenda deck, and this represents what the monsters are trying to do. And it says, it's late at night. You're holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath your floor. And that's how the adventure starts. Then we start Act 1, called Trapped. As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. And so that sets the act deck. 1A, 2A, 3A goes there. Now these have clue tokens. So as you can see on this one, it takes 2 and then the investigator symbol. That investigator symbol means per investigator. So this requires 2 clue tokens per investigator. So for this adventure, it's going to be 4 clue tokens to figure out how to get out of my study. So we have the scenario reference card, which I've shown you there. And now we put the study into play. The study reads, you've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports, and witness accounts. There are other locations for this adventure, but we set them aside for now because we're trapped in our study. But we also have the parlor, the hallway, the cellar, and the attic. For now, those are set out of play. We also have a couple of special cards that the scenario also told us to put out of play that will come in later. Now, the investigators begin play in the study. So we put our little mini investigator icons here, and the second we do, we flip this over to the revealed side. Now, the revealed side is going to have a number here. You see this says 2 with the investigator symbol. So that means 2 clue tokens per investigator. So 4 clue tokens are going to go on this. And real quick, the number on the other side, that represents the shroud rating of this location. That's the difficulty we have to beat to get clue tokens off of this card. And I assume there may be other things they could incorporate the shroud rating with. We just haven't encountered it yet. And the description reads, the door to your study has vanished. So they're going to get 4 clue tokens put on there. And as we said, we've set the Ghoul Priest and Leadish Chantler aside. We've assembled the encounter deck with the cards that are left over. And that's it. We're now ready to begin trying to find the way out of my study. And that's where we'll end this video, if I can find my mouse. And video number 2 will be rounds 1 and maybe 2, depending on how things go.